What's happening? Dave here, going to go through different types of foam rollers and my favorite exercises for foam rolling today. So we have your regular foam rollers, which come in different densities. So you generally have a soft, a medium, which is this color, and then a very hard, which is usually black, depends on the person who sells them. And then usually much smaller are vibrating foam rollers. I'm a bigger fan of the vibrating foam rollers because they tend to cut down the amount of time that you need to spend rolling. I'd almost say it's like a 1-to-4 ratio. I can get like 4 or 5 minutes worth of rolling done in a minute on this guy if I really use good technique. This is the Viper, Hyperice makes it. The reason I like it is one of the strongest ones that they make. A little demo of just turning it on here. So that would be mode number 1, mode number 2, and mode number 3. And so generally I'll use 2 or 3 when I roll. For this video I'll have it off just so you guys can hear me. So they have different textures to them. So some are knobbed, some have grid patterns on them. Generally I like a smoother one. Certain people like that texturing of the knobs. I find the knobs too aggressive. And I find the really smooth surface to be almost too soft. So this has a little bit of ribbing on it and it's a firmer density than this guy. So like I said, I'm pretty sold on the Hyperice. This is the Viper. So that being said, you guys can kind of search around. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask me and I'll give you my best opinion. All right, so what do we roll? You can roll lots of stuff. Generally I use the roller for lower body mostly and back. If I want to do upper body, I'll tend to use one of the guns or some of the balls just because they're a little more focal and easier to get into places. And so back being the first thing, so today I'm going to go through back, glutes, and then just calves, hamstrings being very, very similar. So if I'm going to roll back, usually I start here and I'll roll down in a flex pattern. Then we can roll up and down this way. I'll do a couple times on that with the roller on. And then I'll go into extension, so over here and then back bend. A couple of those. If I find a tight spot specifically, then what I'll do is I'll go side to side with the legs on it. We can add a little bit of side to side from the top, or we can add in even a little bit of side bending from the top on top of that stiff spot if there's a specific stiff spot. Those would be the majors. As far as calves and hamstrings, we have not a lot of pressure, and then we have a lot of pressure. We could have you roll your leg in to get the inside of your calf, straight down the middle, roll your leg out. On that roller, if you find a stiff spot, you can add in little motions like foot up and down just to add a little extra mobilization to that. We can do something similar to the hamstrings, though sometimes balls work better in this area because your hamstrings are so thick, the roller is usually not focal enough to get really deep into your hamstrings. So sometimes the balls work a little bit better on that. Other than that, the other major we do is glutes. So we can sit at a slight angle, so that this would be for my left glute. And we can roll up and down between my hip bone over here and then the top of my pelvis. So we're gonna hit that area. Up and down here. You can add in a little leg cross with a roll. This adds a lot more tension to the system, so we can hit something like that. If I go really low, down by my sit bone here, you can find your piriformis and roll that. We could also go to your side, which would hit your glute med, same thing between hip bone and the top of the pelvis. So those would be the majors. Glutes, low back, and calves, I'd say would be the main ones I'll use foam roller for. Balls way work better on hamstrings, some of the upper body, and then we have the guns, which I'm going to probably do some reviews on as well. But those will be the majors, so you guys have fun doing that, and we'll see you soon.